open phase 2, and phase 2 will be 3 times the size of phase 1.
Go ahead and hold on, and if I can get you on the other phone, I'll get you on that, okay? Because I got Chuck and Joe on the other one.
Meeting to order. Roll call.
Mr. Hennis,
Here.
Mr. Lopez,
Here.
Mr. Wright. Mr. Wright,
Hello.
okay, and Ms. Hawkins.
I'm here. Okay, so we'll go right into discussion and possible action regarding the effects of the ADH benchmarks with ADHS benchmarks and current learning modality. I can't see. Anyway, Dr. Beebe, would you like to say something?
Sure. Well, President Hawkins, members of the governing board, thank you for meeting today. I think the purpose of our meeting, is just really to kind of to recollect and hear from you as a board on your stance with our current benchmarks, with the information that we know, the cases that have happened on both of our campuses, the number of people who've had to be quarantined, and the fact that the benchmarks are starting, things are moving upward. Just to have some direction on our school district, our status for our modalities, and where we go between now and the winter break. So kind of where we go and what your thoughts are based on the information that we all have.
So, does anybody want to jump in with your thoughts?
Joe Lopez, I'll chime in with my 2 cents if you don't mind.
Okay,
Hello?
you're on.
Okay. I don't know exactly where we're at on the numbers. It sounds to me like the last time I heard the red and green ratings were at about 8.2 or 8.5. But my thought, after hearing, especially from the last instructor, that she would definitely like to keep things going. I also heard from another teacher telling me that these kids are not learning at home like the way they should be, which is not a surprise to me. So my option or my choice right now is to keep it going the way we have it until Christmas break. That's my 2 cents.
And I'm going to agree with you there. Anybody
Yeah,
else?
I'd like to step in too. Dr. Beebe, thank you for putting together that information that I requested yesterday. That was all that was very helpful and kind of let me know where we're at. And looking over all of that, even though we have it still appears that our numbers are still very low. And based on all that, in my opinion, it looks like our two schools, as a result of the hard work and the diligent work of our staff, and that have been working since before we reopened, to make our two schools safe and livable and habitable. I like to point out the hard work that they're doing, because I think our schools are the safest place to be in our community right now. And we do have the numbers, but they're still low. I think we have 2 positives that in Grandy. I think our positives are higher in Vista Grandy, but our quarantines, our kids are going on quarantine and then they're coming back, and that's encouraging. I'm a little bit disappointed that the state is not providing us with information on telling us those that are quarantined, whether any of those have in fact tested positive since then, because that could tell us whether we're having transmission through the schools or not, and it doesn't appear to be. But I think I agree with Nancy and Joe. I think we're going to continue on until Christmas break.
Jack?
Mr. Hennis, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I was trying to get off speaker. So I went back and was looking at the numbers. Joe, I don't know what 8.3 is you're coming up with, but the last numbers that are showing from 11-1 are showing us as 9 point something, and that's a 2-week lifetime. So the last that Dr. Beebe sent out, is that correct, Dr. Beebe? 9 point something?
9 point,
9-1 or 9 something?
yeah, 9.3 actually, Member Hennis.
And that date is actually 11-1, so that's 2 weeks behind where we are currently, is that correct?
Correct.
So I don't know where you came up to 8.3, but that number is not, it's fictional.
I think 8
So I
point,
don't know.
well, I think
I don't know what that
8.3
came up
was
with.
3 weeks ago.
I know the state is somewhere above 10. Essentially, if you look at Johns Hopkins right now, the state is somewhere around 12%. And I think the latest thing from the looking at the COVID dashboard that comes out on a daily basis is we're almost at 10% as a state. So well, I think we have to remember that as we look at numbers, we're 2 weeks behind. Everybody wants to keep schools open. There's no question about that at all, but we also need to keep schools open in a safe and correct manner. Especially when we're testing, over 4,000 people are testing positive on a daily basis in the state of Arizona. So, obviously schools are safe, but then we have a breakout. What was the paper that you just got out the other, Dr. Beebe? You have 53 students, essentially the freshman football team?
Well, yeah, we had over 213 that had to be quarantined this week at Vista due to potential exposures and cases. The 53 was including a football team that is now back. So yeah, there was quite a few that had to be quarantined this week, and so they'll be quarantined now until until after Thanksgiving. From this potential exposure this week.
Yeah, I do, the thing of locking us into ourselves of we're going to keep this thing open through Christmas, not knowing what the next couple of days brings, I think puts you in if the county, the way I understand it, Dr. Beebe, communications with you, the county health service person, if we get all of the markers, or we suddenly bump up a word in the markers, then they can tell you to close your school, correct?
Correct. There's 2 weeks.
And if we choose at that point, if the board chooses and their wisdom chooses at that point to not to close that is a board issue at that point, correct?
Correct, and we could have potential lawsuit if we didn't follow what the county asked us to do.
So I appreciate and want to stay open and through Christmas, and I think the hybrid is obviously the best manner possible, but to lock yourself into saying we're gonna stay open through Christmas, I have huge problems with that comment.
Well, I think probably pending the fact that the county doesn't say you need to shut down.
But nobody said that.
Okay,
All you said was you're gonna keep school open through Christmas break.
okay.
So somebody clarify it for me so I understand.
So I would vote to keep the school open, providing that we do not exceed the standards allowed by the Pinal County Health Department, where they recommend shutting us down.
I agree.
Most of
Okay, what are, then Dr. Beebe, just as a question, what are our alternatives as a question? I mean, you've got multiple teachers right now, your sheet that you sent out the other day, you had a couple, and I apologize, I don't have it right in front of me.
Sure.
But can you kind of refresh me what, just exactly?
Yes, well, we have, just this week alone, we have, about, 6 or 8 staff members, who are out. We have a number of students, who are out. We do have positive staff members at both campuses. And, you know, one of the things we talked about in full transparency, one of the things we've talked about, with Pinal County, yes, they could say that the benchmarks and the county numbers have gotten high enough that they recommend closing, and they could come in and tell us to close. But remember, they could also close either one of our schools should they deem a potential outbreak at that school. So we may be only one red benchmark, but if they had an outbreak, they could close a school. So we have to remember, they always have that authority as well. So far, what I have done is kept my promise to you, to our students, to our teachers, to our community, and we have reported every single known case, student or staff. We have reported that to the county. We have talked with the epidemiologist, and we have followed their advice to the T that they tell us to do. So we have done everything they've asked us to do, and as of today, they have not deemed our district to be unsafe or our schools not to be safe to be open. That's as of today. But as numbers continue to go and cases continue to happen, I don't know how that's going to be. I know there's a huge concern right now with Thanksgiving upcoming, because just like if you remember our state around Easter time is when we had a huge outbreak because families got together. Hold on.
I don't think Mr. Hennis is on the line. We lost somebody now.
Well, somebody's trying.
Joe, are you still on the line?
No, he's trying to call me right now, so he must have gone on.
Okay, so Chuck,
So
are
let's
you
go.
the only one on the line right now?
I'm on the line, yes.
Chuck, I'm gonna, hold on, I'm just gonna leave you on my phone, and then I'm gonna I gotta call Joe back, so
Okay.
hold on just a minute, Chuck.
I may have to repeat everything I just said.
No, Joe also dropped out.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, he just went through, I was looking and I couldn't tell who was not on there, so.
Oh, my phone was ringing. It was Joe trying to get a hold of me.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, sorry, hold on just a minute. Okay,
All right, do I have everybody? We have everybody back?
I'm here.
I'm here.
Jack Hennis is here.
Okay. All right, I don't know how much was heard, so I'll just kind of start back over again.
Where I dropped off was right when you were gonna go through the sheet that you sent out.
Okay, so basically, we have a number we have staff members at both schools that are positive right now. We have students at both schools that are positive right now. So, you know, some of that's gone on. What I was trying to explain is not only can the county shut us down, because our benchmarks hit those thresholds that they said it was unsafe and they could close a district and they could close our schools. But remember that they could close either one of our schools if they felt like there was an outbreak on that campus. So if there was an outbreak on a particular campus, they could choose to close one or the other school, or they could choose to close them both. So we don't necessarily have to hit 3 red benchmarks. It'll all depend on transmission and cases. But what I have done since this all started is keep the promise that I made, and that is that we are running everything by the county. We're reporting every single positive case. In that, sometimes we have to do contact tracing. We have to send in the names of people who were potentially exposed, so they have record of that. And we are following everything that they tell us to do exactly as they tell us to do it. People who are quarantined because they told us to quarantine them. People who are not because they told us we didn't need to. So we're following their advice. I'm meeting with them weekly. And as of today, they have not deemed our schools unsafe to be open and have told us that we're doing a good job in our communication. But that's today. You know, cases continue to rise and we're getting ready to go into Thanksgiving. And a lot of people are really concerned about coming out of Thanksgiving and all the family gatherings that are going to happen next week, regardless of COVID and where that may take us.
What is our situation as far as the actual cases contracted on the campuses?
I can say, I have to be careful because of FERPA and I don't want to, right now, I can tell you that we can pretty much guarantee that there have been some contraction of cases on campus. I think it's pretty known that there's been at least a transmission on both campuses. There's been a transmission on campus. Again, it hasn't been deemed an outbreak, or else the county would come in and tell us to close that school. But there have been cases that I think now we can track back and say were contracted, you know, was passed at the school, at both schools.
I guess, Dr. Beebe, what is your, you know, I mean, obviously the board has final say in this, but what is your overall feeling for you know, direction?
Yeah. Well, I think what I need, Member Hennis, what I would like to have from you, and I think you kind of touched on it. I mean, I would be, you know, I will be happy to go on record and say that as a superintendent, I would like to see kids stay in school because that's what's best for school, for kids. What we can see right now, what we know right now, what is not working in our model is the asynchronous learning. It is not working. And I can think we can go a little more drastic that it's not working. Kids are not getting the learning they get. At the same time, as a superintendent of this district, I don't want a single employee or a single student to be put in an unsafe working situation or an unsafe situation. So I would like to see kids stay in school as long as it is safe for everybody to be in school. If it's not safe, then I don't want anybody here.
And it looks like our schools are pretty safe based on what I'm seeing.
And yeah, and again, I will say what the epidemiologist, what Dr. Spears said with the county is right now, our schools are safe. They would tell us otherwise. Right now, they're saying it's safe. That doesn't mean that next Wednesday, they're not going to be safe. I don't know. But I think what we can anticipate is that the benchmarks are going to change again. And I know that we can't be having a meeting, you know, every week, but you know, I don't know. I think, you know, like Member Hannah said, the data is 2 weeks in the rear. So we're expecting the benchmarks are going to come out on Thanksgiving Day, maybe drastically different than the ones that just came out. And so once they come out, everybody will be away to break. We'll be coming back to school on Monday. You know, and I don't know if we'll have time to talk again, about what those benchmarks look like. Obviously, the county would get a hold of me if they needed us to close our schools, if they became that drastic. So,
But the data is always 2 weeks like that, correct?
yes, everything is 2 weeks. But we can look at the data. You can look at the real-time data and try to project, where they're going to be. And at 9.3% positivity, we don't have much wiggle room before we're gonna go to 10. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've already bumped up, it went from 8 and made the jump, in that week, and then you've had 2 weeks, we've actually been in a faster trajectory the past 2 weeks than we had prior to that.
Yes. But I think there's also been an increase of testing as well.
They're also saying the hospital capacity is starting to get brutal again here in the state.
My understanding is hospitalizations are starting to increase again. I haven't heard, I haven't gotten a latest report from here, with Banner or here in the city, but, yes, hospitalizations, that's what's been reporting, is they're starting to increase again. That, however, is the one benchmark that still seems to stay, green and fairly, it's lower than the other two.
Okay, so 2 weeks from now, essentially next week when the next report comes out, correct?
More staff out with.
Next Thursday on Thanksgiving.
So what, I guess the question I've got is, what is the board, if the county says that it is deemed not safe to go to school, or, I just want to make sure clarification I heard from that we would close the school at that point, if the county, a recommendation from the county was 2 weeks after the fact, so it was time to close, we would close it?
The way I would think would be that, yes, if the county does come and say that you need to close your campus and we stay open at our own peril, then we would close. The county deemed that that's what we should be doing.
I think the other thing that needs to be taken into consideration, that I'd hope the board would take in consideration, is staffing and the manpower it takes for us to run our schools and the teachers that need to be present for the kids that are coming in person. We are pushing the limits right now for that. We do have other means, we're having a really difficult time finding substitutes or anybody who would be willing to come in and sub. Right now, a lot of our own teachers are subbing during their prep periods for themselves. But again, while that's not a fun assignment to get on a regular basis, we do compensate teachers who do sub. They do get compensated. We have an able district office here, and I have directors that have teaching experience, and many of them have offered their willingness to go and help out if needed. They told the principals just to call, and so we could help out as well. But if we had a 12 or 15%, teacher shortage out, it would be very difficult for us to run our schools in a safe manner with that many people out. So again,
I guess the other question I've got is, we kind of spoke about this a little bit the other day. My answer was obviously they're already begun there.
I didn't catch what you just said.
You name it. Parents that are already, they're teaching both campuses that are affected by having their kids home now, correct?
yes, they are. And just to let you know, next week, knowing that the elementary district has decided.
I can't figure out what that is.
Chuck's gonna have to put on mute.
So, yes, Member Hennis, you are correct. There is a number of students who are, or parents who are being impacted right now because of the quarantine. But at the same time, as we look at that, the elementary district and their decision to close next week, we are looking to enact childcare again for our employees who have elementary age children. We're going to start that on Monday so that we have somewhere safe for them to be and to learn. So some of those same things we were doing when we first started, we would do again. But I think the biggest question that, at least that I've gotten, that comes up that involves the board is, if you remember when we first started this conversation about coming back, and the date we were going to come back modified in person changed a few times until we finally were able to come back. But one of the comments that's come back to me, and almost in a quote, is that as a board, you had voted that we would go back in person as long as the benchmarks were trending in the right direction. There's a lot of argument that the benchmarks are now not trending in the right direction, and I think that's why a lot of people are looking for answers on where we're going to go. It was immediately assumed that our district would close because the elementary district chose to close. And again, I've had to remind people that was not the county closing the elementary district. That was a board decision to close the elementary district. So I think that's something that has been pointed out to me more than once in the last couple of weeks, is that the benchmarks are starting to trend in the wrong direction.
Well, when we decided to come back also, though, we decided to do it not on the schedule of the elementary district.
Correct.
So we did not tie ourselves to the elementary
Correct.
district on closing and opening.
Right.
Obviously, the state and the county are changing their benchmarks a little bit too, and we have too.
So I guess, not to belabor things, I guess what I feel like I need from you as a board, and what I need is, number one, to know your thoughts, and if the status is to remain open from now till winter break, unless Pinal County tells us otherwise, that's fine. But I also need to know two other things. At what point, at what % of staff outage being out would you like me to see us close our schools because we don't have enough manpower to run them, and it could be an unsafe situation for our kids? And then finally, at what benchmark status do we need to have a discussion again to see if your mind changes about the next 3.5 weeks? Because they could change as of Thursday.
Probably almost a weekly.
Well, and that's fine. And trust me, I don't have a problem calling any of you, over the weekend on Thanksgiving weekend. I don't want to interfere with anybody's holiday, but I have no problem, having a conversation.
Yeah, truly, I believe like Nancy just said, truly, I think it is too important right now that we're available. I mean, that's kind of, why you took this position. But I think it's just too critical, like, especially with, with a lot of different folks' lives at, either risk or, either, just in general, I think it's a moment by moment, Steve. I think if you feel that you need to call, I assume you get a hold of Nancy and
Okay.
we put together a board meeting that fast.
Okay.
24 hours.
Well, I would appreciate that. I mean, we're gonna get benchmarks. Well, we'll see. I don't know what the state's gonna do with Thursday being a holiday, if they'll release the benchmarks on Wednesday. I don't know. Maybe they'll come out on Wednesday, and that would be good, because we'll get an earlier look at them. And we could certainly, I don't think I would need to convene the board over the holiday weekend unless we had 2 or more reds, and then we probably need to talk.
And I think it also depends on how many teachers we have out and what the county has to say about our district also,
Sure.
in addition to.
Those are all factors that we need to consider. And so we can have conversation, Nancy, I could call you weekly as soon as we see every week, as soon as we see the benchmark.
Right. And I don't think it has to rely just strictly on benchmarks.
No.
If it's not affecting our district.
Correct. Correct.
So,
Correct.
And I'm still, the 2 week lag time is an issue. If there's any way to get a little bit clearer glance of where we're actually at, this 2 week lag time right now is, I think you're gonna blow through that here pretty quick. And you're gonna be at a point that this thing's not going in the correct direction right now. It doesn't show. Our governor has said everybody handle it themselves. The state school superintendent is making for any kind of direction. And it's falling on dead ears and dead lips. So it's a sad situation right now.
Yeah.
most of our people will be coming off of quarantine, is that correct?
Mhm.
So,
They'll come off
after Thanksgiving.
right after Thanksgiving.
Right after
So
Thanksgiving.
next week's 2.5 days. One thing I am doing to be proactive, I sent out a communication to the staff, faculty and staff this week. I've asked everybody, please start taking your devices home with you at night, take stuff with you, be prepared, because I don't want to get caught like we did last time when we had to close over spring break and nobody was ready for it. So where I've asked people over the holiday to make sure they take stuff home. Principals and teachers are preparing for finals in person and finals virtually in case we are at that point. So we're trying to plan for both scenarios. And again, we're already trying to mitigate even for the spring, how to mitigate the ineffective asynchronous learning that's been going on this semester. So we're looking at a lot of different things to get better.
I think that's probably especially somebody that are very virtual teaching from the classrooms. Steve, and just as a question, most of Maricopa County has closed?
I think that's a safe statement. I don't know of most. I know there's a lot of them, and on the news, I just saw a couple more closing. But their data, their benchmarks are a little higher than ours right now. But yeah, I just saw another school or two this morning on the news that are closing as of Monday. They're going back to virtual. Another couple of school districts. So.
I personally would prefer to err on the safe side, and if there's any way to get any kind of data that is driven a little bit better than the 2-week snap picture in the past, especially we're in the middle of a real spike right now. I think you got Thanksgiving and some different things kind of on the horizon.
Yeah.
And you're gonna have a lot of cross mingling of people and different stuff going on. But if there's any way to get a little bit clearer view of where Pinal County actually is, or already is, within the next week or so, that'd be a blessing.
Well, and I can talk with them, Member Hennis, I can tell you, I know I was talking with Member Wright, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, we had a conversation. Do you guys get the email that comes from Pinal County Health on the school districts? Because if you do not, I will start forwarding it to you. I get it every week. And they are keeping real-time data on our county and each school district, and they show us whether we're yellow, red, or green as a district. So that's real time. I assumed that since Member Wright had seen it, that maybe you guys were seeing it too. So if not, I will start forwarding it to you every week when I get it, just so you have it. That's a little more real time than what we're getting from ADHS.
What color are we?
We've been yellow. We've been on both rubrics. It's been permissible to operate in the hybrid model on both rubrics, all the way through this week. So.
Okay, so what kind of action are we doing coming out of here?
I guess, yeah, what's the action?
Just make a motion whether or not to stay open until we reconvene again and see what the new benchmarks are, see what the staffing is here at the district.
Well, we can, we can make this a week by week basis. I mean, we've got another board meeting on December the 1st, and we've all kind of talked that we're all going to be available next week during holiday. So we can make this a weekly decision and move on today until next week when
And I think we have to take in more than just the benchmarks, though. I think we do have to take in the school and the cases and quarantines and the teacher outage and those things also. So,
That's correct, and we've also got, we also have to consider, we've got a hybrid model, which nobody in Pinal County has, and very few in, Maricopa County has, so we're a different animal.
right. So,
Yeah, but you're still testing positive with a whole bunch of stuff. You've got a community that feeds into everything, so I mean, it's still the feeder that comes into with you. I mean, you're separating from the kids, and they still right up the community on a daily basis to interact with it. But they closed down the higher schools. Did I see that also?
I didn't get that.
AIA closed down, winter sports. Other than I guess football
Yes, they did.
station.
Well, yes, AIA has come out and, well, you know what, again, that's a whole nother conversation that we won't get into, but yeah, the AIA came out and said that we're moving winter sports to January 5th. It's now the official start date of winter sports. But football playoffs begin tonight and will go on uninterrupted. So go figure that one out. Football makes money, winter sports not so much. So.
We have a motion to
And,
stay open until.
and then just so the board knows, I would not bother you on the holiday weekend unless we see 2 or more reds, and then I definitely will reach out to Nancy for a conversation. Because I
You know what? I think honestly, at this point, it doesn't matter that holiday and weekend. I think it's more important for the board to, whatever those 5 minutes it takes to meet, talk with you there, to see where we're at. I think it's more important for us to meet. So
okay,
I think it's just too critical right now this time, and things are changing and going in a bad direction. And I just think it's too important.
Okay.
We're available.
Pick a date and
Okay.
give us a call.
well, I appreciate that. I would feel better because the safety and well-being of our employees and our students has got to be our highest priority. So I appreciate being able to talk to you on a weekly basis, so that I can know your direction, so that we can plan accordingly. If we make it through next week, okay, then the good news is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving is our next board meeting. So
Do we want to try to reconvene next Friday, or do we want to wait till if there's nothing drastic?
well, if the benchmarks come out Wednesday, and I'll try to find out. I'm gonna guess since Thursday's a state holiday, there's a good chance we'll see the benchmarks on Wednesday. We might even be able to touch base Wednesday afternoon, so going into the weekend, so that nobody has to give up their weekend or worry about being available. So,
Can you preemptively say, do you have to, notice a meeting for 24 hours ahead of time?
We can go ahead and schedule one.
we could schedule,
If you don't do it, we don't do it.
yeah, we could schedule a meeting right now for Wednesday afternoon, and that way we could talk going into the weekend, so I don't have to bother you, and then we know we're gonna meet again on Tuesday. So why don't we just schedule that now, and it'll be 24 hours in advance. Does this time frame work better at noon or later?
Probably this time on Wednesday. Well, are you gonna have the benchmarks? You don't know.
The benchmarks generally come out at 9 a.m. Yeah, I'm assuming they're gonna come out a day early tomorrow, but I'll try to find out. I'll find out today.
My meeting on Wednesday.
So Wednesday probably at noon.
Afternoon.
Any later than you're gonna get into
Yeah,
people's.
well,
Thanksgiving.
Wednesday is a half day for everybody, so at 12:20 kids are going home, teachers are going home. But we could, at least we could have a conversation going into the weekend, so I don't have to bother all of you over the weekend.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, I mean, or we can do 11, we can do noon. Can everybody do noon
on Wednesday,
next
Okay.
Wednesday?
okay, we'll schedule Wednesday then, so we can reconvene and talk.
Yes.
So there really isn't a need for any kind of a motion at this
I don't
time.
think there's any kind
No,
of.
no,
there's really not.
See where things are.
So, yeah, so,
There's a motion to be made right now, this one, you're just monitoring and watching things on a
Right.
tight fashion. And I think you're trying to stay up to
If anything changes in my conversations with Pinal County, you will know immediately.
Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
All right.
All right, thanks.
I make a
All right, thank you all.
Make a
I'll
motion
second
to
it.
adjourn.
Okay.
All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you.